Hello, welcome back. So you can talk a little bit about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. I apologize if I mispronounce it. I know what it says at the beginning of this video. I want to make one thing very clear. She herself, I'm not calling her a failure. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that the education system of this country has failed her. As for her personally, I don't agree with a lot of her politics, but she seems to be a vivacious, happy, nice young lady. I don't know her personally. I'm sure she is all of these things, but I'm just going by her appearance. Anyway, move on to the topic of this, which is essentially what I just said. The education system here in America has failed her. So there's a couple reasons I think this. So we'll kind of go one by one. And I'm going to kind of argue both sides of some of these points because I think there's two sides to everything. So the first one is she's apparently got a degree in economics, yet she doesn't understand certain things that I would have thought would be basic, like how unemployment is calculated and things like that. And this is one of the ones I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt on because, perhaps she just didn't study statistics or how certain things are arrived at in school and, didn't bother to learn them. So, yeah, give her the benefit of the doubt on that one. But one of the main reasons I think education has failed her is she doesn't, there's a couple things. She doesn't know how to frame a discussion or an argument or her points very well. And you're supposed to learn that in school. And so the fact that she didn't, I think, is a failure of the education system. And, excuse me. And another point is she doesn't ever seem to, present her own viewpoints on this. She's what she appears to be doing, and I will apologize to her if I'm getting this wrong. This is the general appearance. She's not making points of her own, but she's parroting points that other people make. And that's basically parroting means to repeat, something like parrots do. And the reason I think she's parroting is that when interviewers, even interviewers who are on her side, who are very much on her side, ask her follow-up questions, she doesn't seem to know the answer very well. She will kind of, either doesn't know the answer or doesn't give a very good answer when they follow up on these questions. And I've seen this with a lot of young people who've been to classes and think they know everything. They pretty much make the assumption that since they believe in something, you should automatically believe in it too. And it doesn't always work out that way. Her argument and her debate style actually reminds me of a cousin of mine who years ago she had to argue some points in one of her classes, and I was curious about it and asked her to present these points to me, and she started by saying, well, okay, obviously this is wrong, and my first reaction was like, wait, I don't know that, and I said this, I don't know that that's wrong, can you explain to me why it's wrong? Which I thought was a pretty good reaction. But she responded by yelling for her mother to come keep me entertained. So she was 14 though, so I think I can forgive her for that. But Ocasio-Cortez seems to approach issues in a very similar manner. Of you should agree with if I believe in this, you should automatically believe in this. Or I think how Terry Pratchett phrases this sort of mentality is, if I know what I mean, you should know what I mean as well. And it's not, the thing about education is it should teach you there are different viewpoints. Not everybody's going to automatically accept your viewpoint. So you need to present a good, valid argument for doing it. And another thing about her is, I'm going to describe this whole incident, but her response to it was very, puerile. It was not a response I would expect from someone whose frontal lobe has completely developed, or to put another way, who's an adult. It started with somebody taking footage of her interview and cutting up and actually, pretending to interview her and doing a pretty funny little comedy sketch on that. And, she did not react well. She got really, really angry about this, and a lot of people, a lot of liberals, people on the left, really got angry about this, which I thought was kind of bizarre since Stephen Colbert had done the exact same thing to President Trump, except that he had better special effects and a bigger budget, obviously. So, it just, my point of view is, if you're a politician, expect to be made fun of. That's what, it doesn't matter which side you're on, it doesn't matter how good your cause is, you will be made fun of by people, especially if you do something silly. And a lot of people really enjoy seeing politicians do something silly because it's funny. So, but her reaction and a lot of people's reaction was very much anger about this. And she apparently made a comment. I've heard a few people requote her. I haven't seen the original quote, so if I get this wrong, please forgive me. But she apparently made the comment that conservatives are making fun of her because, they're afraid to debate her. Well, this caused a conservative commentator named Ben Shapiro, I'm sure you've heard of him, or if you haven't, oh well, to essentially issue her a challenge, say, wait, I'm not afraid to debate you. You can come on my show, debate me, I'll, give you $10,000 to your campaign. Later turns out that's a little bit more than you're allowed to give people in their campaign, but he then, offered to, give it to a charity of her choice, do whatever she wants. And he offered her multiple venues, either debating him, which, I can understand why she wouldn't want to debate him. He is very, very good at debating. And yeah, I don't think very few people could go into a debate with him and come out ahead, much less, unscathed, shall we say. So, yeah, I can understand not debating, but he also, said, we can do a different venue. We'll have you on. I will essentially interview you. I'll ask you these questions, and you can respond. I won't interrupt you. I won't debate your points. I'll just ask the questions. And, he basically said he didn't expect to get a response from her, and finally she gave a response on Twitter, which was a really odd response. I mean, of all the responses that you can give, this was not a good response. It's essentially, she accused him, she said his equivalent of challenging her to a debate or a discussion or just an interview was the equivalent of catcalling a man catcalling a woman on the streets, and that he doesn't deserve a response, to that sort of thing, which, like I said, it seems like an odd little response. It's, one of the things that a lot of people learn early on is that if you want to make someone feel uncomfortable or automatically win the argument, then don't even accuse, imply some sort of sexual impropriety in what they're doing. And, a lot of people will, get nervous by that. Most people are decent people and they don't want to be associated with doing something bad in any way, shape, or form. So a lot of people respond to that. But what Miss Ocasio-Cortez needs to learn is that not everybody responds that way, and Ben Shapiro is one of those people. He, answered and retweeted back, a few very funny responses that I won't get into. But yeah, he. So that's pretty much kind of the whole story. A lot of people really, want this debate to happen one way or the other, but it doesn't look like it will ever happen. But like I said, her response was pretty puerile. If she didn't want to debate him, which, like I said, I completely understand that, that's fine. She could have said, no thank you. I mean, honestly, no thank you would probably be one of the best responses you can give. Or even just, she didn't even have to respond to him. Or, she could have said something a little bit more political instead of, accusing him of, some sort of impropriety for asking for a debate. So, like I said, that's a puerile response. It's not a response I'd expect from an adult. It's, I expect it from a 16 or 17-year-old. And generally a pretty immature 16 or 17-year-old, if I'm going to be honest. Like I said, I'm not impugning her in any way. I believe she firmly believes what she's talking about. She's very, very excited, very vivacious, I've heard her described as, about what she believes and her cause, and that's fine. I totally agree with that, but I think she's, you know, the system of education has failed her, and we need to do better than that. We need to produce people who are not, who aren't going to respond immediately like this, the way she is. And like I said, there's nothing per se wrong with her responses, but they are very puerile, very the response you would expect from someone much younger than she actually is, especially when you're dealing with a politician. It's they're not good responses. And like I said, I don't consider her a failure. Whatever she makes out of her life, however she views her life, that is her prerogative. I don't think she's a failure. I think she's actually done quite well. But, we failed her. We as a country who provide this education have failed her. And I think that's not good, and we need to kind of address that and see how we can not fail people. Anyway, so that's a quick look at why I think the education system has failed, specifically Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, which I fervently hope I'm pronouncing correctly. I apologize if I'm not. And anyway, like and subscribe if you like this, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.